Hey, this is Ben. Here I've got the Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro, Elegoo's latest FDM 3D printer. And today I'm going to be doing an unboxing and setup video. This unit was provided to me from BC Hobbies in Victoria, British Columbia. And I'm super excited to open this up and get it printing. So the Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro is the successor to the Neptune 3 Pro, which came out about a year ago. And what's special about this is it comes with a clipper firmware, so you can print faster. It's advertised to print up to 500 millimeters per second, which is quite an upgrade to the Elegoo Neptune 3 Pro. Up here. So here we've got the frame. We've got the instruction manual. This is a reminder to make sure that the voltage is set correctly, and some more instructions and leveling information. Glue stick. We've got a bag of accessories. And here it comes with an Ethernet cable, because this printer has clippers so you can access it through a web interface, and it comes with a Ethernet port so you can access it over the web interface. Zip ties. Here we've got some grease. Because this doesn't use V-wheels and the pulleys, you have to grease the metal sliders that come with it. Some sample filament, some rapid PLA+, micro SD card and adapter, scraper for the print bed scraper, the filament runout sensor, a USB flash drive, and 2 replacement nozzles and a bit of PTFE tubing. What's special about this is you can see those nozzles aren't the standard Mark 8 or V6 style. It's a special high flow nozzle for this, because with those high printing speeds you need to be able to melt the plastic faster, so you need a bigger nozzle. Here we have screws for assembly. There's going to be the included cutters for it. And then some tools to put it together, and a needle for cleaning out nozzle jams. Alright, so we've got everything out of the box here, and we can start putting it all together. So we've got all the included screws here and the included tools. So if you take a look at the instructions here, so you got cautions, contents, and then here we have some of the parameters about it. So FDM, it's got build volume of 225 by 225 by 265, print precision plus or minus 0.1 millimeter, print speed 30 to 500 millimeters per second. That's quite fast compared to the Neptune 3 Pro, which normally prints around, say, between 60 and 100 millimeters per second. So here we have the machine structure diagram. So you can see it shows all the different parts there, and then here we've got the packing list with all the different parts that are in front of me here. So if we look at the instructions here, the first thing it says to do is install the print head. So unlike the Neptune 3 Pro, the print head doesn't come attached to the x-axis. Although it looks the same as the Neptune 3 Pro, this print head is actually substantially smaller, because it doesn't use the NEMA 17 pancake motor. It uses a smaller stepper motor. I believe it's a NEMA 14. And take this off. See, it's a smaller stepper motor to allow for that lighter and faster print speeds. And it's a very different print head. And it looks like we've got a light here in the nozzle area there. And something that I really like about this style of extruder is the dual part cooling fans. So on top of having the big part cooling fan on the back of the x-axis, you've also got these dual part cooling fans that wrap around. On some printers, we only have it on one side. You can get good cooling on one, and then kind of not as good cooling on the other side. So that really helps with that. And then here you've got the breakout board with everything attached. Looks all good to me. We got our nozzle there, and this is where it connects to the printer. And it's direct drive, so there's no Bowden tube or anything, which is really nice. Or it's just easier to use. So the first step is we're going to attach this to here. So you move this over. Oh, that's so smooth, those metal rods there. So take that right here. So this is very similar to the Neptune 3 Pro and how it's attached. Okay. So I think it's probably best to do this with this upright. We'll just move that like that. Seems to stand okay on its own. So then this is going to go here, and then this goes. Okay. So this is the front of the machine, and so this is the back. So this is going to go on like that, and this goes behind it. And then there's some metal inserts inside the print head, which these screw onto. It's just a little bit finicky, but it's not too bad. Tighten that up. And there we go. Now that is attached. Looks nice and straight, nice and level. So now you can see this is still kind of loose. So then we can use these smaller screws to secure that to the body. Like that. And so this goes right into there. Like that. Okay, I'm not going to tighten it all the way, just saying I want to get this other side too. And so with these parts, you don't want to tighten. You don't want to over tighten it. So you want to tighten until you feel resistance, and then you can. Oh yeah. So there's two more. So there's the two there, and then there's two underneath that as well. So I'm just gonna lay it down there because I don't want it tipping over. Put it right on, like that, and that'll make it nice and easy to access these. So there's this side here. Now that's kind of on its side here, and something I forgot to mention is this is the inductive bed leveling probe. And so this thing's got, I believe, an 11 by 11 mesh. Okay, and there's this side. So one thing that I should have done is I tightened these off fully, which was probably a bit of a mistake, because the problem was the screw hole was it wasn't perfectly centered, so I couldn't get a perfect fit there. So now I'm just going to retighten these bolts here. Okay, that looks good. So now we can flip this back up. And so now we've got this extruder and hot end fully attached to the x-axis gantry. So now if we look at the instructions, the next step is to attach the x and z-axis to the y-axis and base. So we'll do that now. Now, I'm trying to remember the best way to do this. I think, if I remember correctly for the Neptune 3 Pro, I put these first. Something that I did find was helpful with the Neptune 3 Pro was having this over a ledge like this. And this allows you to push these up through here, like that. And this is probably the hardest part of the whole build, and even then it's not that hard. So those go in there. So now we want to put this axis on top, align that, now we need to get the largest Allen key. We can screw this in. Tighten that up, and you want that to be nice and tight. Now we can do this side. So now I'm going to spin this around and do the other side. So the trick is you just kind of get the screw when it's hanging over the edge, and then once you've got one in and it's kind of framed, and then you can just kind of finger thread it in until it's engaged, and then it won't fall out. There we go. So now it's in enough that it won't fall out. I just grab the wrong Allen key. The Allen key, tighten it the rest of the way. So now this is pretty sturdy, and now we can continue with the assembly process. So now we've got the X and Z axis attached to the base here, and we can continue on with assembly. So look at the instructions, so we just finished that. Now it's time to put in the magnetic screen holder to the side of the printer. And so this is one of the really nice features about this is the magnetic screen. And this just fits onto there like that, and you take it off. And so you don't have to be kind of hunched over the printer working on it. And another thing that is nice about this, even though it's running Clipper firmware, which if you were to upgrade yourself on like a Raspberry Pi and hook up to your printer, you're not able to use the screen because Clipper doesn't support that. So with this, you get the benefit of Clipper firmware, but you can also use that touchscreen user interface. And so I don't want it to be super tight, I want it to be able to move around so I can still align it with the other bolts here. So now I just want to align it with the top one. There we go. So I'm still not tightening it, or I haven't tightened them fully, I'm still keeping it a bit loose. So I can reach this last one. Lift up there, which is right here. So now that they're all in, I can start tightening them. And then I remember when I was putting the Neptune 3 Pro together, the big magnet on this screen holder, it likes to grab your tools, so actually tightening them can kind of be hard, and your tool just wants to stick to that. So now that's done, flip the page. So now it's time to actually attach the screen to the unit. Really easy, just pop it on there, and then connect it with this little tab facing down. And there, so now you can take the screen off, do whatever, and put it back on. So the next step after that is filament detector and the filament holder. So let's do that. So for that, we need the filament detector. Something that's kind of weird about this is that it's just like the Neptune 3 Pro Plus Max. It's on this kind of swivel mount, and it can be mounted on either side of the filament spool holder here. So let's put this on. Something here is you got some drop-in T-nuts here at the top. So that goes on like this. And then here you do kind of have to align. There's one. So I don't want to fully tighten that, I still want it to be kind of loose. I want to take this and screwing it into place. There we go. So now you can see this isn't centered or anything. Because they're T-nuts, they can move, so I could slide this all the way over to here or whatever, but I'm just going to keep it roughly in the center there. That looks about right. And you can always move that later. It's not super important because the filament detector does swivel. So we've got our filament detector. It comes with the screw here. I like to mount it on this side here, on the left side. And this is kind of getting this. I remember when I was assembling the Neptune 3 Pro, it's kind of hard to figure out when to stop tightening it because it is on a swivel and you don't want to tighten it until this doesn't move. So you want to tighten it until you feel resistance, but it'll still move. So there, it'll kind of stops rotating. So now we've got filament detector. While I'm out of here, I might as well plug it in. So now it's connected. And this is, seeing this now, this is really nice here. You can see here that this filament detector wire goes here and then underneath this channel cover and then down here. On the Neptune 3 Pro, it kind of came up and you had to route it around where you had to figure out you're going to put it here, there, and it was just one more thing to think about when putting it together. So now this is done. Now it's time to put on the part cooling fan. Take these out. Good, right, okay. So this thing is it's a beast. You got these 4 big part cooling fans, and just it's crazy. It's more than enough part cooling. So now one of the things I want to do now is it's kind of high up, so I'm just going to lower it down. I'm just going to slowly do this by dragging across the belt here. You don't want to do this super fast because it can actually generate electricity through the stepper motors. There, that's good enough. So now you can thread these, just go through like that. And then on the back of this extrusion, there's 3 holes which these thread into. I'm just going to line them up the edges first. So now I got one of the edges done, and then I'm going to do this edge, this corner, and then the middle one. And I'm not tightening any of them super tight yet. I'm just going to go around to each of them and gradually tighten them a bit more. And now that's kind of all in place and looks nice and level and everything, now I'm going to go through and tighten them to the proper amount. So now this part cooling fan is on. And let's take a look at the instructions. Now it tells you to wire everything up. So we already did the filament detector switch, so we don't need to worry about that. But we can do the x-axis limit, x-axis stepper, and z-axis steppers. So bring this around like that. So here we've got one of our Z steppers. Just plug that into the back here. Just standard JST connectors. There's one. And we've got a couple more here. And then we got, see, this one is labeled as Z. So this will go to this one here. So now what else it says? So now it says our x-axis limit switch. And so that is located here on the x-axis. So it should be labeled. So here we've got 2 ones labeled X. This one is the 4-pin. So that's going to be for the stepper motor. And then we've got this 2-pin, which is going to go towards our limit switch. So we can take our one that says X. We've got 2 wires. We'll plug that into there. Perfect. And then we can plug in our cable that says X into the larger one with 4 wires into the x-axis stepper motor, just like that. Perfect. So that's done. And then you can also see these, it doesn't tell you what they are, and then it tells you to plug those into each other. Pretty simple. You just plug them into each other, like so. There's one. There's 2. So that is everything there. Everything's plugged in. Let's do a quick check through. So we got one more here, and I presume this is going to be for the fan. So I missed an instruction there. This just leads to the breakout board or to here, so I'll wire this up. So we can plug this larger connector into this back thing here. Put these aside, and then you can see there's a little notch, and that goes back like this. And then when I push this down, the two side pieces should click into place. There we go. And then this just kind of get away to there. Boom. Perfect. And this is what connects to the fans. There we go. So now everything's wired. Flip this around. Everything is put together for the most part. We can put in our spool roller there. And we still got a few odds and ends, like this cable clamp. And this is just so that you don't have this flopping around. This into here. So because that, you can see there, you're gonna have to kind of pinch this back and then push that down because the screw is not super long. So yeah, I have to kind of push down in order for it to thread. There we go. And then now it'll clamp its way down. Tighten that off. There we go. Perfect. So you just want to make sure that it goes to the extreme on both axes, that it has enough rope that it won't, or wire that it won't, it'll reach. And so you can see that kind of interferes. It came with some cable ties. I'm just going to do some cable management here. I'm just going to put one right there. I don't want that to be super tight. Just enough that it holds in place. I cut the end off with the included flush cutters. Leave a bit though in case I want to tighten in the future. And now we can give it a quick test. So that end works well. And if it goes to here, still got enough. Perfect. So now we've got everything wired up. Now it's time to plug it in and get everything leveled. So before we plug it in, we're going to make sure we pay attention to the voltage, which is quite important. So there we go. The default factory voltage is 230 volts. And because I live in British Columbia, we use 110 volts here. So I just want to go make my way to the back of the printer here, like it says in the instructions. And you can see the factory default is 230. So what I want to do is I just want to bring this switch over to 110 or 115, and there we go. So now it's set to the correct voltage. So we can plug this thing in and turn it on. I'm going to turn it on. Fans come on. Here we have a boot up. I'm just going to peel off this. Oh yeah, nice peel. Already I can see it's a different loading screen. Instead of a progress bar like on the Neptune 3 Pro, we've got a circle there. And that's one of the things I love about these printers, both the Neptune 4 Pro, 3 Plus, Max, Pro, whatever. The screen on them is super nice. Okay, the system is currently starting. Please wait. Okay. There we go. So now we've got it set up here. But before I want to do that, I have to level the bed. And so it goes over that enough here. But the first thing, so we can see when running the machine, so you want to press on the level. So we'll go to the level menu. And the user interface on this is really clean, very intuitive. So this operation will trigger. So this will just home it. I'll confirm that. So now it's just homing all the different axes, which is good. There we go. Now it's homed. Okay, now, so it's already, looks like it's got some extra stuff, but let's do, so automatic and auxiliary. So we want to do auxiliary. So let's see what it says here. The method of auxiliary leveling, I can't read it from this side, is to, so basically what this means is, unlike the Neptune 3 Pro, where it just had the automatic leveling, you can see this also has leveling knobs and springs. So you can manually set the level, and then you can use the automatic. So you can get really, really nice first layers. Because if for some reason, if with the Neptune 3 Pro, if your bed shipped and let's say there was uneven or something, is a slight angle, there's nothing you can really do about it because you can level it. But with this, you can set the level. So now, so we want to confirm. And so what's nice about this is on something like, I had an Ender 3B2, you would have to like home it and then move it and kind of go through the hassle. Sometimes if your bed wasn't level, it would scrape the nozzle and ding up your bed. But with this, it's just, you can point which corner you want to go to. So let's start with 2, and it'll take to that corner, so I don't have to mess around with that. And I'm just going to get a sheet of paper here. So I had to run and grab a piece of paper, is what it says to do. So I'm just going to rip off a piece of that. And so you want to set the height of the nozzle off the print bed to be roughly the size of roughly the thickness of a sheet of A4 paper. So what you can do here, I'm just going to go over to this side. And so I can see, I'm just going to try and feed this underneath. And it looks like we're too close. So I'm just going to turn it this way. Should start to see a gap. There we go. So now I can see the nozzle moving up. Just going to slide this underneath that. I'm going to bring it down. And I'm just going to kind of go back and forth like this until I could feel some resistance. And so that right there, that feels good to me. So now now 2 is done. We'll go over to 3. And this is so nice. Like compared to like some of the Ender and just this is so far the easiest out of every manual bed leveling I've ever done. It's just awesome. Let's see again. It's too close. So when doing this, it's kind of hard to see, but to lower the bed, you want to tighten the spring. And to make the bed go down, you want to loosen the knob. So that's it. It's up quite a bit. I can put that underneath there. You can start to bring it down and just moving it back and forth. It's like slowly. And I'm starting to feel resistance. That's too much. Bring it up a bit more. So I can feel resistance, but it also kind of can really move. So that's number 2 done. Let's move on to number 1. There we go. Perfect. Now we can finish it off and do the 4th segment here. Okay, that feels about right. So now and then it wants me to push the button in the middle. I'm just going to home it. This is something I mentioned earlier, was using the grease to grease the rods there. I didn't do that for this because it's not really heavy wear, it's just kind of barely moving. But in general, you do want to do that before you print because it will add wear onto it. Let's see here. Automatic leveling. Okay, so now it says automatic leveling again after completion of the auxiliary leveling operation of each point. So now I can go back. Now it's roughly leveled. Auxiliary, please. So now we're going to go to auto leveling. So it's going to return to its 0 point. It's going to go to its home point. And so now it's heating up, and holy smokes, that's a lot of points. So on the Neptune 3 Pro, it was a 36-point mesh bed leveling system, so a 6x6. This is an 11x11, so there is a lot of points. So it's kind of nuts. So we're just gonna let that do its thing, let it heat up. And then something that I didn't mention, so it comes with this 8 gigabyte USB flash drive. And so this is one of the things I really like about this printer is being able to print with the USB flash drive. With the micro SD cards, I find it's quite finicky and it's kind of hard to find it sometimes. With USB, it's nice and easy, just plop it in. Yeah, I think that's going to be really handy. And then it also comes with the micro SD card and the adapter for that. One of the things I have seen I know this was for the Neptune 3 Pro. I don't know if that's going to be a problem with this one, but there are some problems with the included micro SD card. With this, it looks like it's a different micro SD card. And I think this is probably for the software setup. So I don't think that should be a problem. Because it's a very new printer, there aren't profiles and like slicers like Prusa Slicer or Cura. Like default profiles in the default Cura Prusa Slicer, but you can certainly make your own, or you can just use the included Elegoo Cura, which is the same, it just has a slightly different UI. And I found that works quite well for the Neptune 3 Pro. See on the screen here, it's going through. So now we're on number 9 out of 121. So it's been about 2 minutes and 30 seconds and we're more than halfway through the auto leveling process here. And I just think it's a good time to talk about some of the features. So one of the things I mentioned earlier was that it's on Clipper firmware. And basically, if you don't know, most printers ship with something called Marlin firmware or Marlin 2.0. And that is just what's running on the board. With this, it's running Clipper. And I've noticed one of the biggest trends now is like Clipper on these budget 3D printers, these i3 style printers, because you get much better performance, you get higher speeds, and you can allow for things like input shaping, which can help increase speeds as well. And it also allows for web interface. So with this one, it comes with Fluid is the web interface, but there's also for Clipper you can get Mainsail. And one of the tricky things about Clipper is traditionally you'd have to get on a Raspberry Pi, which up until very recently have been very hard to find with the shortage. And then you have to configure it yourself, and it can be quite daunting for a beginner. But with this, it comes with firmware on the board, so you get access to that web interface. You can still edit the config files. It comes with a input shaper on it, but on the main board it has spot for an accelerometer, so you can tune it as much as you want. So this is like a great first step for people that want to get into Clipper firmware and learn about that and work with it, because you don't have to deal with the huge hassle of configuring it on a Raspberry Pi. And Raspberry Pis, they're not cheap. They cost, all in all, about 80 Canadian dollars for like a Raspberry Pi 4 with shipping and everything. And so that can be an expensive upgrade. And with this, it just comes baked in, which is really handy. And you also get the bonus of the screen, which is really nice. And one of the things about this, though, is the trade-off for high-speed printing is the noise. On the Neptune 3 Pro, it runs super quietly. We acquired it on stuff like the Ender 3V2 and other printers that I've used. But with this, there is a trade-off with the high speeds and better cooling, is you've got these big fans, which are very loud. The one thing I will say, though, is you can turn it off, so if you don't want it, let's say you're not printing at 250 millimeters per second and you don't need this crazy high speeds, if you're just printing something slowly, like 100 millimeters per second, which is still pretty fast, you can turn that off and then you don't have to worry about that. Other than that, yeah, I think sounds like the power supply fan might be a bit louder, the mainboard fan, but it's not bad. It's pretty average for a 3D printer. The movement, it's not super loud. I'd say it's very similar to a Neptune 3 Pro. Just from unboxing it, I think it's going to be a pretty good printer. Pretty excited to log some more hours on it. Perfect timing. Looks like it's finished here. So on the screen, so basically for setting the Z offset, so you've got too high and it'll be spaghetti, too low and it kind of scrapes and it won't get as good coverage, and you want it to be, yeah, again, the sheet, might be as high up as the width or the thickness of a piece of paper. So you can go confirm. And so now it's at negative 1.7. See, looks like it's a bit low. So we're gonna raise it up. Or we're gonna go 1 millimeter at a time. Okay, now it's pretty high up. And so we can start to bring it down. Okay, so there we have pressure. So I'm going to go to 0.01 millimeters. Oh, whoops. So I bring that up. Bring it down one, another one. There we go, that feels, one more. Yeah, perfect. That's it, feels good. So now it is all leveled and ready to go. So, save and restart to apply the Z offset value, okay. So now it's saving. So now it's saving that data to it so it knows for when I print how high it should be. Perfect. So now we can load up some filament and do a test print. Just gonna load up some filament here for a test print. This is some blue Hello 3D PLA. I'm just gonna load that up put it through the filament sensor. Light, it's good. I'm gonna bring it through. Just to the top there, a little tab. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to prepare. I'm just gonna move the up by a couple. Wow, that's fast, quite responsive. I'm just gonna, one of the things is you just kind of push this down, and then you can, looks like it's not quite at the right temperature. Oh yeah, it's cooling down, whoops. So we're gonna set the nozzle temp, I'm just gonna 210, to let that heat up. And so you can see the user interface is slightly different, and that's because you can see the different heat beds. You've got the two different segments here. Just going to heat it to PLA. So right now it's going to do both to 60. We'll let that heat up. There we go. So now we're at 200. So now we can start pushing the filament down through. So you can push this lever, and you just push through that. So go a bit. This is just purging out any factory, anything that was in the hot end before. And so you can see there we got some green stuff, green filament. Push some more of that through. That looks good. I'm just gonna get a screwdriver here and take that out. There we go. So now I'm gonna take this time to apply some grease to the rails. I'm just gonna, don't apply too much. That will kind of, there you go. Looks good. And then we also need to put some on the y-axis here. It's kind of awkward to get into this. There we go. Should be good. Looks like I want to put some on the bottom too. That side. The applicator here. Okay, should be good. Now we can plug in this USB drive. Oh, first try. I got a print. So let me just find the files here. Okay, so here you got some folders. This is just software and stuff. So this is the Buddha. It'll load the image of it here. Same one as on the Neptune 3 Pro. Only 31 minutes. It took like as I recall, like an hour and a half on the Neptune 3 Pro. It's definitely faster. So I just want to grab this out of it here. There we go. Now we can just turn on the light. There. No, it's not letting me turn on the light. Oh, there we go. So now, oh, okay, that's nice. So we got, so not just a LED light bar up at the top here, we've also got a light in the actual hot end, which is pretty cool. I think let's see if we can turn on. I don't, so it said to configure that in the menu. I'm just gonna try and see here. Speed, fan. Okay. So here we've got silent, let's go normal. Whoa. That's on normal. And you can see that is pretty loud. Holy smokes. But this thing is fast. Some fast movements there. It's already done the brim. That's, man, and that's it, 80%. So let's turn it up to sport to see what it's like. I mean, that's really not that bad. I'm sitting right next to it, but in reality, you're probably not going to be running it that fast. And if you're putting this in enclosure, it will probably reduce the noise a fair bit. Like I've got my printer, it's going to be running in my closet, so I don't think this will be a huge problem. But then again, there's definitely a downside to the high-speed printing. Like, so you've got the high speed, but it's not perfect. There is, like, you get the high speeds, you get it finished faster. I mean, you shave off a ton of time, but then you also have the louder part cooling fan to facilitate that. I'm just going to turn that to normal. And really, for most of the time, you probably won't be running it at sport unless you're really, really printing at like ridiculously fast speeds. And if you've got lots of overhangs and stuff, but normal is fine. And I've seen a lot of people don't even bother with this fan. Like it's not necessary, and with the flick of a switch, you can turn it off. And you've still got those. But for this, I'm just gonna turn it on just to see what it's gonna be like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can see our speed here. That's actually really neat. So it actually shows you what speed it's currently printing at. So it's not printing at 250C. For infill, it's going at higher speeds. But if you're doing like a wall or something, it'll slow down so that you don't get under extrusions or anything. Keep the print quality on the outside, but on the inside, see this for infill, it was going at 250 millimeters per second. So that's where this is a tuned profile for that. And it's also got the fan symbol here running at 80. Something I always that was funny was the kind of looks like a radiation symbol. And this is pretty cool. On this one, it also shows you your X and Y position, but it also has this status bar where it shows you roughly the percent that it's done. Now this is not 100% accurate on most printers because it does it based off of like layering and stuff, but it also shows you like a rough time on how long it's going to take to finish it, which I like. So we've just about finished the test print. So there's about a minute left, 97% finished. Let's finish this test print. Pretty quick, it only took around, what's the exact time here? It's only been printing for about 36 minutes, which is pretty fast considering what it took on the Neptune 3 Pro. Since I was off camera, kind of tinkering around, found the quiet setting too. It says silent. I thought the silent just turned it off. So I showed the normal and the sport, but this silent mode is actually, there's still a good amount of airflow coming out, so you're still going to get pretty good part cooling, I think. And it's much quieter, which is nice. One of the things, I probably put a bit too much of the grease on the sides here. I mean, it really not going to be going there. It's more crucial to have in there where the wheels are going to be moving. But I'm just going to, when this print finishes, going to move it to the sides and home it, so I can kind of distribute that across the axes there. Yeah, so far this print's looking really good. Print quality is, I mean, not much to say there. It's really nice. So there, the print's finished. I'd say that's good first impressions and overview of the Neptune 4 Pro. Over the next coming days and weeks, I'm going to be experimenting more with this, getting more print time on it with materials like PTG, TPU, just kind of stress testing it, seeing what kind of speeds it can do, hooking up to a network, and then I'll be posting that as like a full review on my channel, so you can check that out when that's done. I can pop this off the print bed and take a closer look. All right, could I wait? It's still pretty hot. Oof. Kind of singes your fingertips. Back down. Oh. There we go. So there's the first print. Print quality looks good. No layer shifts or anything. Yeah, looks really good. So yeah, that's the Neptune 4 Pro. So far, it's definitely a very promising 3D printer. I think it has the potential to be a very solid, both beginner and more advanced 3D printer. And yeah, I'm really excited to test it some more with some different materials and just see what it can do.